All right, we're back in the saddle here on a Friday. We missed last week because I was in Connecticut. Chase Senior is back with us. Chase, good to see you, man. How are you?
You as well. How's the vacay experiencing the Northeast?
Oh, man, it was amazing. It was amazing. Now, I will say this. The only thing that I didn't love about the Northeast is that there's a lot more bugs at the beach there than we have here. Like, there's no bugs in California. I mean, we're a bugless society here, and I was constantly, scratching here and itching my forearms, itching my hands, my ankles, my calves, you name it. I just got bit and bit and bit. And the worst thing is I could never see these little bugs that were biting me, in the Bay Area, you might get a mosquito and you see that mosquito. You didn't see these bugs. So, frustrating, but it was a great time. Got a great time at the beach. Got a chance to go to New York. Took Kev to New York. The rest of the family, it was great. It was a great time. Really good time. But I'm back in it talking Niners, and we're out, of course, there's never a shortage of things to talk about. And we get rolling this morning with this story off TMZ, which is Niners corner Deommodore Lenoir arrested in Los Angeles. TMZ reporting. I'll just read this to you guys. Niners cornerback Deommodore Lenoir arrested in Los Angeles on Thursday. TMZ Sports has learned. Lenoir was arrested by L.A. police at about 5:30 p.m. He was booked for resisting a peace officer a few hours later. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ that the cops approached Lenoir and a man named Marcus Cunningham when they observed vehicles double parked and blocking traffic. We're told the cops suspected criminal activity. They noticed a gun in Cunningham's car. During the interaction, TMZ was told that Cunningham threw Lenoir his car keys, and when officers asked the Niners corner to hand them over, he did not. So he was arrested on one count of resisting a peace officer. He was released this morning and is scheduled to appear in court next month. Cunningham was also arrested for possession of a concealed firearm in a vehicle. All right, so that's basically it. The Niners, of course, drafted Lenoir in the 5th round in the 2021 draft. He's one of their best players. They signed him to a 5-year, $92 million extension last offseason. These are all the details that we have, at least at this point in this story. Chase, your thoughts on Deommodore Lenoir, one of the 49ers leaders, being caught in an entanglement with the law today?
Obviously, anytime you're running a football operation, anytime you're running a business and one of your players, one of your employees is involved in a police altercation like this and an arrest happens, it's never ideal. I would say that as far as what this would rank on the scale of a charge or criminal activity, or at least the severity of it, it's extremely low. My best guess is that Lenoir and his buddy were hanging out. Some people saw that they were hanging out. Maybe they were slightly blocking traffic. Police got called and they arrived to the scene. And I think probably the biggest trigger moment, no pun intended, for the authorities was seeing that there was a gun in this guy, Marcus Cunningham's car. And obviously anytime that happens, that can make police officers react in a certain way. And to the sounds of it, Lenoir's buddy threw him his keys. Lenoir, probably trying to stand up for his friend, elected to not give the officers the keys. And then the police officers were like, all right, if you're not going to cooperate, we're going to arrest you. And this happened 5:30 Pacific on Thursday. Lenoir was released on Friday morning. And so he had to spend the night in jail. That's never a spot where you want to rest your head. Lenoir, everybody raves about his character. George Kittle was on stage with him a couple of weeks ago saying, Deommodore Lenoir is a leader of our football team. He has emerged into one of our best players. Robert Saleh has said that about him. I thought last year he played at a Pro Bowl, all-pro type of level. He has been very outspoken as far as his confidence in himself as a football player, but also willing to talk smack with rivals and other wide receivers. I love the way that he carries himself. This doesn't get me concerned about his character. I imagine these charges are going to get dropped, or at least they're going to be very minimal charges. Prior to me covering the Niners full-time and hopping back into sports broadcasting, I was a news reporter. And so when situations like this arise, I think the headline is a little bit worse than the actual situation. I'm thankful that it didn't result in anything more severe, but I'm not really worried about Lenor's long-term status with the Niners. I imagine the organization has been notified and they can flush this and move on.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to see your guys, your players arrested and that kind of thing, and it doesn't show well for the organization publicly that this is out there in the public discussion. I'm sure it's something the Niners are not particularly pleased about, but in the grand scheme of things, it seems like a gigantic nothing burger. I mean, that's what it seems like to me. I mean, at most, it's going to be a misdemeanor. It doesn't sound like it was anything too serious. I don't think it changes anything about Lenor and his status with the team. Now, I will say this, the 49ers are leaning heavily on Deommodore Lenoir.
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of one area where I kind of think they're a little bit exposed. I'm going to share the screen because the other Niner corner story that is out there from Coach Yak is that Coach Yak showed this video today of Upton Stout doing some workouts, and he looks pretty damn good here, actually.
The footwork's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the footwork's really good. Now, he's a tiny little guy, but he's tough as heck. But, I mean, this is an area where, I mean, if you said, give me a list of the 49ers that the Niners can ill afford to lose. Okay, well, it's Brock Purdy, it's Trent Williams, it's Colton McKivitz, and then it's Deommodore Lenoir, Upton Stout, and Renardo Green.
I would throw Fred Warner and Nick Bosa in there as well.
I would say maybe even more Bosa than Warner, just because you don't have a lot of backups there. You do have some backup linebackers. But yeah, I mean, those guys as well. But, I mean, the 49ers do not have backup contingency plans on the corner. I mean, if Deommodore Lenoir doesn't play well and Renardo Green doesn't play well and Upton Stout doesn't play well, it's going to be really difficult for the 49ers to make the playoffs. So, yeah. I mean, most teams are going to keep 6 corners. Those are their top 3. There's a major drop-off from their top 3 to Darrell Luter, Trey Brown, Saron Neal, whoever else is 3, 4, 5, 6 on their depth chart. So, obviously, it's a big, they can't lose Lenor, but then they also are banking on Upton Stout, which is why some of us have thrown out, hey, how about Jalen Ramsey? Because the Niners do have a bunch of cap room, and they have a somewhat severe need on the corner. Well, how do you see their backup corners besides their top 3 guys? How concerned are you about cornerback 4, 5, 6?
I'm worried about the cornerback depth, and a big reason for that is that the Niners are very unproven there. Trey Brown was a former 4th-round pick by the Seattle Seahawks out of Oklahoma, and he had 30 pass breakups and 100 tackles throughout his Oklahoma career, but he went to Seattle. They were very high on him in the pre-draft process, and he was banged up a lot. He didn't play all that well. He didn't play that much his first couple of years, and then the last couple of years, primarily a special teams player who occasionally saw the field getting corner snaps. He runs 4.4, but he's a little bit smaller. I know he intercepted Brock Purdy in the spring, and he can play inside, outside. He's never played on the inside before in his career, but I think that positional versatility is key for him. But he's an unknown commodity. I really like the selection of Upton Stout. People can rip him for being a little bit small. He doesn't play like it, though. And people said the same thing about Deommodore Lenoir when he was a 5th-round pick out of Oregon. But it's really how you carry yourself. It's your willingness to get it out of the mud and be physical and mix it up and not show any fear on the field. Upton Stout has that type of Deommodore Lenoir mentality that Dre Greenlaw and Azeez Al-Shire also possess. They play with a lot of fire. They play with a lot of swagger. They play with a lot of physicality. Upton Stout is a guy who ran 4.4 in the pre-draft, has ball skills. He makes plays on the rock, provides the Niners with a lot of sticky coverage, but he's a rookie. And the San Francisco defense as a whole going to be relying on a lot of rookies to be impactful. And you make a fantastic point. You know, if Deommodore Lenoir goes down, you really start to have concerns at that cornerback position, because as currently constructed, you'd have Trey Brown out there. You'd have Darrell Luter Jr. out there. All we know about him is that he's long, runs well, but he's been banged up. He's barely seen the field. Renardo Green struggled a little bit in the spring, but I thought he played excellent in the 7 starts that he had last year as a rookie. And his college tape, he had great reps against Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, the 2 top wide receivers in the game. That translated last year. But the Niners can't afford for him to have a sophomore slump. And so this news with Lenoir, it's going to be a misdemeanor. Hopefully the charges outright just get dropped, but he is set to appear in court in a month. The Niners are supposed to get training camp started in less than a month. And so hopefully this doesn't take him away from being in Santa Clara, having to go back down to LA. I don't worry about the criminal offense, but you never want to see this with one of your players. But you're totally right. Corner depth is a concern, and that's why we've been talking about the likes of Jalen Ramsey. Asante Samuel Jr. is still out there. He played 4 games last year with a neck injury and a stinger. He got a neck surgery this offseason, but he's a former second-round pick who's had double-digit pass breakups in his first 3 years prior to barely playing last year. If you still have concerns at that corner spot, he has a medical checkup from that neck surgery in July. Do you explore that type of avenue?
I'll tell you what I'm concerned about. I thought the last 2 years, the Niners did a lousy job of paring down their roster at the cutdown, getting rid of good players and keeping not good players. 2 years ago, they kept Isaiah Oliver and they cut Deshaun Jameson. Last year, they kept Rock Ya-Sin and Isaac Yiadom. They cut Samuel Womack, only to watch Womack and Jameson outplay the guys that the Niners kept, and they kept them largely because of the financial commitment. And and it's all set up again for them to do the exact same thing this year. They have $2.5 million committed to Saran Neal. They have $500,000 committed to Trey Brown, and yet there's a very good chance that Jacob Robinson or Derek Canteen, 2 undrafted rookies who had good interception totals in college, could outperform those guys this summer. But if the Niners are just going to protect, try to save face with the owner for the 3rd straight year, it's not a real competition. And Saran Neal is going to be on the roster because they're paying him $2.25, and Trey Brown's going to be on the roster because they're paying him $500,000. But I'll say this: if Jacob Robinson or Canteen or Luter get cut and they outplay those guys, I'm going to scream bloody murder about it. I mean, for at least for a couple days, because you can't do that. You can't keep making these mistakes at the cutdown, especially at a position like corner where, the Niners seem to be the only team that doesn't seem like they fully grasp the need for corners as far as how you have to go with the guys who are the best guys. They act like they can get a corner anytime, anywhere, and then they go with these guys that they invested free agent dollars in, and when those guys crap the bed, it's suddenly they have no alternatives because it's week 5, week 6. So they could not pick up Samuel Womack in week 6 last year. They could not pick up Deshaun Jameson in week 6 the year before. And I'm sure they would have liked to. So I don't want to see them cut. I really don't want to see Jacob Robinson or Canteen play well or Luter play well and get cut because they have special teams millions, tied up in other guys. Yeah, I think I'm really concerned about it because they've shown that they're free. Obviously, Jed makes a stink anytime they spend a penny of his money and that guy doesn't make the roster. They're not doing this for no reason. I'm sure the ownership has put pressure on them to not waste Jed's money. I'm sure they understand it's a bad look, but it's a worse look, going with an inferior player for reasons beyond football.
Yeah, real quick, though, just want to pass along some more news coming out on Lenoir.
Yeah.
So he was booked at 9:40 p.m. Thursday. He has a court date set in downtown L.A. on July 25th. The Niners start training camp July 22nd, with rookies reporting on July 15th. And so this could take him away from training camp. Also, the guy who he was with, Marcus Cunningham, he was arrested on a felony charge. He is yet to be released. And as we know, I think is California concealed carry state? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah. Either way, they have some pretty strict gun laws. And so that's not good for who Lenor was with. And look, for everybody out there, like, if police show up, just cooperate. We know that these things can escalate into a situation which can become something more than it needs to be. Just cooperate with authorities. But back to your point there, Larry.
What was Cunningham's felony, by the way? Did they say?
I think it's for that concealed firearm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So Lenor has been released. He has not been released. But back to your point, like, you're so right. Last year, how do you keep Rock Ya-Sin, who's a veteran, who was a second-round pick out of Temple, but at that point you knew who he was, over Samuel Womack? Never take older players over young players with upside. And so, to your point, the Niners have a couple of good, solid young corners on this team. You got to see what you have from them in training camp and in the preseason. And if they outplay the veterans, keep some of these young players, because it also fits the plan and the timeline that we've seen this offseason. The Niners have drafted all of these young defensive players. They've brought in 18 rookies this offseason. It's not quite a rebuild, but it's a reset on the fly. Build your roster with some intriguing young foundational pieces, and don't keep these old veterans. I hope it doesn't come to that situation, because I'm with you. I'll be screaming about it too.
And you know what? I mean, I would almost be willing to wager that Saron Neal is going to make this team no matter what, because they did guarantee him $2.25 million.
He's a good special teamer too.
He's a good special teamer, but he's not a fast guy. He's not a
good coverage guy.
Not a good coverage guy. And Robinson is a good coverage guy. In Canteen, I mean, Robinson and Canteen, I think combined had like 20 career college interceptions. So these guys have ball skills. All I'm saying is you got to make sure that you take the best corners regardless of cash. And Saron Neal, if I'll just say this, there's such a need for good corners in the NFL that any rookie corner that shows anything in the preseason will be claimed at the cutdown by any number of teams around the league, because it's a passing league and everybody needs corners and everybody needs good corners who are cheap. So if Jacob Robinson has a good preseason, he will not clear waivers. But Saron Neal, as a special teamer making 2.25, I think he might. So I just hope they don't make the same mistake 3 years in a row, but I kind of expect that they will.